we get the next one?
Good evening. My name's Mary Lynn Gerstenschlager, and I'm here for myself, as well as the Vice President of Texas Eagle Forum. While we support House Bill 60 in its entirety, I want to address Section 171.0031, the requirements of physicians performing or inducing abortions. House Bill 60 would prohibit what we call hit-and-run abortions here in Texas. Other states, including Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi, and North Dakota, have passed similar versions of this. This bill would require that anyone who performs an abortion remains available to handle complications from his operation at a nearby hospital. A similar law has been in effect in Missouri since 2005 and was fully upheld in federal court. It reads, quote, any physician performing or inducing an abortion who does not have clinical privileges at a hospital which offers obstetrical or gynecological care located within 30 miles of the location at which the abortion is performed or induced shall be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor, unquote. Less than 3 months ago during the regular session, this committee heard testimony that every abortion clinic in Texas is within 30 miles of a hospital. It's not too much to require that the abortionist be able to admit women to a local hospital to treat complications from his abortions. If the abortionist is not competent to obtain hospital privileges, then he's not competent to be doing abortions. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath from running from one room to the other. Under current law, an abortion clinic can tell women who have complications to go to an emergency room where no one knows what happened or how to contact the physician who caused the complications. The public ends up paying for the complication rather than the abortion clinic that caused it. By requiring the doctor who performed the operation to be on staff at a hospital for handling complications, the injured woman can receive better care and the public can be spared some of the bill. Some doctors who perform abortions were previously kicked off of hospital medical staff. Doctors not competent enough to be on staff at a hospital should not be performing serious operations on women which might leave them infertile or with life-threatening complications. Texas women should not end up in emergency rooms at local hospitals without any accountability for the physician who caused them. With House Bill 60, any abortionist who causes complications in Texas will be prohibited by law from performing more abortions. Women in Texas deserve that protection. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, any questions? Thank you. The chair calls Jennifer Ullman with the Texas Catholic Conference of Bishops, and she is for the bill. We will show that Ms. Ullman did not testify, but she is for the bill. We'll go on to the next person. The chair calls Janet Kilgore, representing herself, and she is for the bill. The chair will show that Ms. Kilgore did not testify, but she's for the bill. The chair calls McKeel Love, testifying for self, and is for the bill. It might be Michael. I'm not sure. Okay.
My name is Michael Love. I'm in favor of House Bill 60. I'm here to voice my support for House Bill 60. Particularly, I want to address several different sections. Section 2, which requires abortion providers to maintain active hospital privileges. Section 3, Subchapter D, which requires a physician who performs RE486 abortions to follow FDA guidelines. And Section 4, which requires the facilities to meet the same standards as ambulatory surgical centers. Currently, I'm an OB-GYN here in Austin. I've been here since 1992 and have delivered over 6,000 babies since that time. I currently serve as the chairman of the CME committee for a large hospital partnership here in town that oversees the education of physicians and providing their abilities to maintain standards of care. I'm also a member of the American Board of Medical Quality. I also serve as an expert witness in matters of standard of care for plaintiff and defense counsels. As I stated, I support House Bill 60 because it does raise the standard of care. for the women who actually choose to terminate their pregnancies. Requiring hospital privileges for physicians who perform abortions is considered the standard of care. With all medical and surgical fields, the patient can expect to call a physician and obtain care on a 24/7 basis. According to the ACOG Practice Bulletin number 67, Medical Management of Abortion, a surgical curettage must be readily available 24/7 for patients who have cases of hemorrhage, who suffer hemorrhage after having a medical abortion. You know, I spoke with one of the leading abortion providers here in town and asked him that question about hospital privileges. And his response to me was, a provider who does not have hospital privileges is equivalent to a patient abandonment. And those were his words, not mine. Second, following the FDA regulations for medical abortions would be a substantial improvement. A study out of Finland in obstetrics and gynecology of 2009 is the best reference and considered the gold standard because it is a socialized medical system that does track complications of medical abortions. And we can provide that study for you if you so choose to want to look at it and discuss it. The study found that the overall incidence of medical abortion compared to surgical abortion, the adverse effects was 20% versus 5.6%. In other words, there was an 8-fold increase in the risk of hemorrhage, 5-fold increase in the risk of incomplete abortion, and a 2-fold increase in the risk of re-evacuation of the uterus. When the drug is administered, there is a potential for serious adverse effects, and a physician needs to be present. So this is not an issue of restricting services, but of providing services that meet current standards of care to protect the health and safety of women. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Love, for your testimony. Members, any questions? Thank you so much. Ms. Kilgore has returned. The chair is going to call Janet Kilgore, and she is representing herself, and she's for House Bill 60.
Madam Chairman, Representatives, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Janet Kilgo.
I'm sorry, we didn't start with your name.
My name is Janet Kilgo, and I support House Bill 60.
Thank you.
As a teenager, I was faced with an unplanned pregnancy. I was alone, and I was scared, and wanted nothing more than to be loved. My boyfriend's mother told me that if I would just take care of this little problem that we had, we would have a long life together, and everything would be okay. A week later, we came to a clinic here in Austin, Texas, and I lay on a table about to have my first abortion, and I heard the heartbeat of my baby. I asked the nurse, if I change my mind right now, can his mom have her money back? She said no. And I went through with the abortion because I didn't want her to be more mad at me. 3 months later, I found myself pregnant again. This time I carried until I was 16 and a half weeks. And the daddy told me he didn't want the baby. Again, feeling unworthy and lost, I made the decision to abort. It was a 2-day procedure, and on the first day after I went to the clinic to have the first portion done, they sent me to a hotel room a block away, alone and scared, and I lay on a floor in a bathroom, cramping and bleeding profusely. I called the clinic at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At 10 o'clock that night, the doctor called me back and said, "This is what you wanted. It'll be over tomorrow." I went in the next day. As they were performing the procedure, I became very emotional. I heard the doctor tell the nurse, "Turn it up," meaning to give me more drugs. I went to the recovery area. I grabbed the blanket, the only thing in there to keep me warm, cuddled up with it, and looked down and saw dried blood on the blanket. I asked if I could have a fresh blanket, and the nurse said, "No, honey, that's all we have." She said, "You'll be released in a few minutes. You'll go on about your life, and you won't have to think about this again." She was wrong. I felt so degraded. I felt like I was in a slaughterhouse. I became very depressed. I tried to commit suicide. And when I said that When she told me that I would never think about it again, I did, for 20 years. Today I stand before you forgiven and set free only because of Christ who lives in me. I have a husband and 2 beautiful kids that love me very much. And I don't want any other woman to ever have to go through what I did. Women in Texas deserve to be treated better than this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your testimony. We're sorry. Thank you so much. Any questions, members? Okay. Before I call the next witness, thank you very much, ma'am. Let me say to you that we in no way want to appear insensitive, and we want you to know that some of the stories that you're telling us certainly touches us, but we have over 500 people to testify this evening, and so I want to apologize to you in advance because I am going to stick with the 3 minutes, and I am not going to have the opportunity to let you round up. So if you can, think about what you're going to say and try to say the most important things first. So when the 3 minutes is up. So we apologize to you in advance, but with that many witnesses waiting, we have to be very conscious of the time. I'm sorry. The chair is going to call Andy Brown, who is testifying for himself, and he is against this bill. Mr. Brown, state your name, please.
Thank you. My name is Andy Brown, and I'm testifying against House Bill 60. I'd just like to say that not one bill targeting safe, legal abortion passed in the regular session. Now Governor Perry is playing politics with women's health by forcing this issue onto the legislature's fast-tracked agenda. This is pure political gamesmanship, and it is not in the public interest, and it is trying to hide these bills from the public. This bill itself is disingenuous. It places onerous requirements on health centers that provide safe, legal abortion, and it does nothing to improve the health or safety of women. The medically unnecessary regulations in this bill are simply designed to limit a woman's access to safe and legal abortion. After shredding the health care safety net for low-income and uninsured women in Texas, it's outrageous that politicians are once again threatening Texas women's access to a safe and legal medical procedure. Already, an estimated 130,000 women are going without basic preventative health care because of the 2011 Texas legislature's drastic cuts to women's health care funding. If Planned Parenthood continues to be banned from the Women's Health Program, it will jeopardize health care access for tens of thousands more. We call on lawmakers to protect the health and safety of Texas women by restoring women's access to life-saving breast and cervical cancer screenings, birth control, and other basic preventative health care through the Medicaid Women's Health Program and through funding for the state's family planning program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Members, any questions? Thank you. The chair is going to call Christian Caballero, representing herself, and she is against the bill. Would you please begin with your name and your position on the bill?
Yes, of course. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Christian Caballero. I am against House Bill 60. I'm not here to convince you of a singular point of view or perspective. As you well know, there are many. I'm here to remind you that diversity is essential for progression of our community, whether the scale may be our city, state, nation, or global community. And it is the duty of our representatives to preserve and protect our right to free will and choice that makes up for our diversity. Free will and choice are not for you to define, dictate, or place limitations on others' behalf. To do so is an abuse of power and beyond the scope of your duties. Free will and choice are for each individual to define and dictate for themselves so that they may face their own destiny and carry full responsibility for their own person. We have entrusted our representatives to preserve and protect our rights, not simply for women, but for all persons regardless of their sex. Your positions are not to preserve and protect your own interests or those of a few. Your positions are to preserve and protect the people, the masses, not simply the minority or majority or the affiliates of your respective parties, or the investors who support you, or the fellow peers who advocate for their own interests. I speak about the entire body of the human race that is often divided, but you dress up prejudice and call it politics. I speak about every single individual, despite their origin, their sex, their beliefs, their race, their dreams, or their fears. I speak about everyone who exists on Earth and not just within your realm of who you consider or qualify to be a person or citizen. To assume authority over the entire human race while dictating the restraint of free persons is a perversion and misuse of power, for it defies and contradicts your duty to preserve and protect our free will. There is no law or belief that you can project that justifies depriving people to live freely as they choose. Choices are natural born right, which we are allowed to face all consequences for. It is where we find and meet our destiny, our fate, and without it, we would never know progress or obtain wisdom. We would never know the difference in vice and virtue or know the accomplishment of achieving the latter. We would never know where true value lies if we are not allowed to explore and discover it for ourselves. The sheer vanity that anyone would assume authority on any subject regarding a person's free will is insulting to the human race as a whole. This representation is a false pretense, an empty vow to persons who entrust so much in you. Do not assume authority on free will or deprive people of their right to choice. Do not stunt the growth of the human race and lead us back into regression. Do not create an even bigger scale of social and economic disparity. Simply fulfill your duty in preserving and protecting our natural born rights so that we may be able to
Ms. Cameron,
learn.
I'm sorry, I'm going to
Yeah.
have to stop you there.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Members, any questions? Thank you very much for your testimony. The chair calls there's only one, there's Cardenas, no first name apparently, Cardenas with Annie Smith against the bill. And we will show that there was no testimony. The chair calls Sydney Casey, testifying for herself, and she is against the bill. We will show that Ms. Casey did not testify, but she's against the bill. The chair calls Joy Kaznoski, representing herself. She is against the bill. We will show that she did not testify.